All right, I'll let you know who I'm seeing this morning. There's Doreen Patrick Atkins from IC. Morning, Doreen. I'm seeing Patty Poist, Catherine Wagner, Glenn Morey, Nancy Zahler, Dave McKenna, Lori Konwinski, Shauna Black, Greg Potter, Katrina McCloy, Ashley Bryant, and Teresa Vatican. Well, that sounds like a good crew to start out with this morning. Are there any changes to the agenda this morning, committee? Not seeing any. Let's go to the minutes of June 1. Committee member want to move those?
I'll move them.
Seconded by Glenn. Discussion about the minutes. Roll call vote, please. Dave?
Yes.
I can't hear.
Dave?
Yes. Do you hear me?
Shauna?
Yes.
No.
We're having trouble with the audio here too. Glenn?
Yes.
There, now we hear. And I vote yes, that's unanimous. Don't see Dominic.
No, not yet. No one from administration.
I want to come back to the communications director and the resolution because we seem to lack anyone from administration right now. So let's go down to the update from the Public Information Advisory Board. Who's here this morning? Patty's here.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Yes, we met on June 8th, and that was our last meeting. Our next one's next Monday. And the last time we discussed that Jennifer Carius, who is the partnership specialist, our local partnership specialist for the census, had sent out a Google document, and I'm not sure how many of you have seen that, but it indicates that there has been a great deal of work done by IC. Doreen's been doing a great job. People at Cornell and DC3, and however, the quote was, "The needle's not moving." So I'm not sure what has happened since. Mike Plinkalier, the other partnership specialist, said, because things have been extended, we still have time. So there's also a move in Congress. Mike Plinkalier reported to somehow aggregate 2010 data with 2020 to get a more accurate count in the event that we are undercounting students due to the pandemic and off-campus living, that perhaps somehow they can use the data from 2010 and 2020 and come up with more accurate numbers. So I'm not sure where that is in Congress. We discussed a number of things. We also discussed PAB membership, and Dominic's doing a really great job of recruiting members, and we'll have more on that later. I really don't have too much else. I sent the minutes out to I'm the secretary, so I sent all the minutes out earlier. Catherine, I don't know if you remember anything else. I know that you are very interested in trying to get faculty to persuade students to indeed participate in the census. I don't know how we're going to do that, but we might have a Cornell liaison, a student. His name is Lucas. Oh, what is Lucas' last name? Sorry. Lucas Smith, that's his name, Lucas Smith. So he reported out too on some of the things that Cornell has been doing, and he might be interested in joining PAB as well, which would be nice, a nice liaison for our group to include students.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is they tried earlier on to involve the faculty and the administration didn't want them to do it because they felt the faculty were already overloaded with handling things as it was. But I guess there's some possibilities of, the faculty can have contact with the students over the summer. And I think they were even talking about maybe putting something in with the diplomas. I'm just not sure quite what all is going on, but I don't know. My feeling is that, the students may listen to faculty they like more than they're going to listen to administration. But that's just from the perspective I've had at Cornell. But anyway.
Thanks for that, Catherine. Other comments?
Oh, and Patty, wasn't there something about the signs in the buses?
Yes, I think we're going to wait a little bit more. I have to get in touch with Nick Murphy and both Dominic, and we'll arrange that. Ridership is going up, so you will be able to capture more people, obviously, with the returning students as well. So I think that's definitely down the line. I don't have hard dates, but that will happen. And I think it will also include some banners strategically posted as well throughout the county.
So
And
that might, go ahead.
Another thing, Dominic and Nick both reported out their press releases that they've divided certain sectors of our daily lives that are affected by the census. And they had one out about redistricting, which went very well, one about transportation, which of course we loved. The next one is going to be about how the census impacts business decisions to locate in your community, such things as Trader Joe's and Urban Outfitters as things that students love, perhaps to persuade them that way. Look, if you got to participate in the census to let people know you're here if you want these cool stores, that sort of thing. So, so that's where we are. Sorry for interrupting.
Nancy.
Yeah, I just, has there been any thought given to, as we get closer into the summer and fall, of somehow capitalizing on or coordinating census reminders with voter registration efforts at things like tables at farmers markets? The Alex Haley pool is just going to open. That might be a place for either a banner or a sign for some of the downtown folks who are sometimes underrepresented in the census.
If that's addressed to me, I'm
not quite sure. Well, either the PIB or others on the committee. It just was a thought.
Most of voter registration is usually done by good government groups like the League of Women Voters or the parties themselves. So I would think that they would need to have information available if they wanted to be part of trying to get that word out. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've been trying to figure out what we're going to do about voter registration for the league, because we're feeling that we're probably Apple Festival, which is one of the real biggies when we get people registered. And what's the one where they have, all these bands in the neighborhood down in Fall Creek. So there are a bunch of different venues like that usually we get a lot of voter registration, especially when the students are back. And we just don't know if they're going to occur, or if they do, if we're going to feel comfortable doing it. But certainly we're going to be putting out a whole lot of flyers. We're trying to figure out where, and we can put some census stuff, some census flyers in the things that aren't already getting census flyers. So some of the food bags and so on, those are already being covered by the census, I believe. But some of the other things, we can certainly put some flyers in for the census if somebody would supply them for us.
I have, with students returning, are you all working at all with Cornell Votes on campus? with Amy Sanchanmavong at the Public Service Center, and there's a super engaged group of students who are working on voter registration. So
Yeah,
that
we,
would be in terms of getting something in the arrival packets, or they've really been focused on it, and I'm sure they'd be glad to collaborate.
yeah, we have a member who's a liaison with these groups at Cornell, and another one working with IC, and another working with TC3. So,
Okay, I'll pipe down.
no, but the arrival packets, I will check out about that.
I was going to mention IC too, but it sounds like you're already connected with David Harker is the one who coordinates that for our campus. Harker.
Harker. Okay, I'll make sure.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Lori?
Just curious if we have any notion of the percentage of college students from our county who have responded already. Is any even ballpark figure on that to know what we're looking at?
On census or on you're talking
On the census, how many of IC, TC3 and Cornell student population have responded? Just how far back are we?
Right.
Well, we're lacking anybody from the census this morning here, which kind of surprises me, but from the past, we were told that, of course, the dormitory students will be counted under the group quarters method, but it's the off-campus ones that we're hurting. It seems like last time they were in the 20% range. They were talking about had responded from those living off campus. College Town was particularly not particularly far behind on the counting for the people that should be responding as living there.
So, Mike, do you want me to wait and give an update? I know you had an email from Joel with the update on Cornell's process for on and off campus.
Can you wait
Cornell,
just
yeah, oh, absolutely.
We'll come to you. I really, since we were talking with Patty about the PIAB, I really thought it might be a good time to take a look at the advertising budget that has been put together and was with the packet this morning on packet page 8. And also that was done by Nick Murphy and Amy Hendricks as to what money the county might be able to expend to help us with the advertising. It's the bottom line. Does everyone have the packet or not? I know that our committee members do. In any event, there are budgets for TCAT bus ads, social media, Cornell Daily Sun ads, the Ithacan, lawn signs with a total projection of $10,084. That's not the $130,000 we thought we were going to have from New York State, obviously, but it's very early in the census project. We thought about being able to have some county expenditures toward this. So this is what we have this morning, along with a proposed resolution authorizing that up to that expenditure from the contingent fund of the county. And first of all, are there before we take the resolution, are there questions about the budget that was put together from committee or other folks?
Come in.
Kay, is your hand still up or is it? I'm not seeing any. All right, then I'm gonna, Shauna's got her hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Nick and Amy. I know that they've worked on this budget probably 3 or 4 times.
That's right.
Each time we've been hopeful that we would get money, and it looks like we're not. And I think that this is an important step that we need to take as a county. I see it, really as an investment at this point in order for us to get the numbers in. So thank you, Nick, for continuing to do this. I know it's been frustrating.
Shauna, would you like to move the resolution?
I'm happy to move the resolution.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Glenn.
I did have just,
Discussion.
I did have just
Go
one
ahead, Nancy.
question. I don't know, since seems like we don't necessarily have everybody here. Were billboards considered? I know they're much more expensive, but I didn't know whether that was considered. And when I looked at lawn signs at 60, I know in our town alone, anybody running for office would get more than 60 just for one town. So I wasn't quite sure if they had a thought about just a few strategic locations. I mean, this is terrific, and I think if this is what we can afford, I think it seems like a good mix of media efforts. But I just was curious about number of lawn signs and whether billboards had been considered.
Patty, did that come up?
At the last meeting, we did not discuss lawn signs that I recall. I know at one point, we didn't talk about billboards, but we talked about those big banners. If you all recall, Read to Me, those big, beautiful banners that you see throughout the county. And the thinking at the time, well, let's backtrack to the lawn signs, is that the process to actually get the approval through property owners and have the physical labor to install them and take them down, that was considered with PIAB's very low membership, that probably wouldn't be realistic. So, but Nancy Zoller's idea, you know, I just remember when she was talking about the Alex Haley pool, that you know, that's an ideal place for a banner, because there's a place to attach banners. So I don't know if Nick has that in the budget or not. I didn't see the proposed budget that he's presenting, but I think that would be a great idea. Billboards, nothing at all was discussed about that.
I would think that this is only a budget that's been proposed, so I think things could be moved around if necessary. And I suppose if we really are short and we've got something going on real well, we can always come back for another request. But this is a start, and we needed to get something going because we've been talking about this since last fall. And there's Amanda has joined us, by the way. And we needed to have some funding behind it so we could give the go to get some of this done. Excuse me.
No, that's great.
Okay, Nancy?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Can we vote then on this appropriation resolution? Let's start with Amanda.
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Shauna?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
And I vote yes. That's unanimous. Thank you.
Can I chime in briefly? The lawn signs, I am almost positive that the Ithaca College print shop can beat the estimate that's shown on the budget. If folks are interested in reaching out, I put the contact info in the chat.
Doreen, you and folks at IC have been wonderful from the very beginning, talking about helping us with banners and everything else. So that's a great suggestion for us.
Yeah, I know we're doing thousands of them right now for our graduates. So they're pretty good at lawn signs right now.
Okay.
I've also had a little experience with lawn signs of late with some other community activities that I'm involved in. And I think that's a great ask for volunteers. So I guess representing Catholic Charities, if the issue of lawn signs is we don't know how to get these out, I think we could maybe help find people to do that, or find people that could put them out. But I have to agree with the other speaker, 60 is not a lot for the whole county. But I think, you know, there are ways out there to ensure that they get covered around the county if you ask for some assistance.
Thank you, Lori.
And I have some connections with the South Hill Community Association, because it sounds like you really want them probably in the college town areas also. So happy to make that connection once they're ready to go.
Thank you. Again, Lori?
Just that, just to be strategic, I have to say personally, when I look at that census website that tells us where the responses are coming from, I find it very difficult to maneuver through that and really zero in on the neighborhoods that where the participation rates are low. I just, for whatever reason, when it gets down to the level of show me what the streets are, I lose what the shading color is. So I guess we need help from the census employees on that one, but it'd be great, if I guess I'm asking, is there anybody that would be looking at, strategically, where does that message need to be most so that it encourages the people who haven't responded yet?
The other thing I learned from our census connection is that the census data on the website does not reflect group housing counts. So for example, the area that surrounds Ithaca College is not going to show that we've reported on 4,000 students. So some of the numbers may be a little skewed as compared to previous year where they would have added that information back in by now.
Anything else on this? Lee Dillon.
Hi, I was very excited about the fact that we might be able to get some lawn signs or previously to this whole Corona thing. We have 2 large Head Start sites, one in Groton and one in Dryden, which have room for banners. And I know that low-income people, especially with children under the age of 5, have been difficult to count before. And so I think that we should, I would love it if we could get some stuff in Dryden and Groton.
That's great. And I was just, as you said that, Lee, I was just thinking about, we have a daycare center at TC3 too, with a lot of young people. Okay, anything else on this? We're going to have to look at the money and what we've got. And it sounds to me like the general consensus here is that we need more lawn signs and maybe a billboard. I don't know. However, we do have someone on the county legislature who's familiar with the cost of billboards, so we could probably ask him. That's Mike Sigler.
Right.
All right, so let's move into a discussion from our college reps. Who wants to start? Doreen's here and Kate's here.
I can start. This is Doreen. So Ithaca College continues to put announcements probably bi-weekly at this point because our students aren't reading as frequently our electronic bulletin board. We are in the process of stuffing boxes that will go to each of our graduates. Each of those boxes will include a census postcard reminding students to fill out the census. Right now, I think any other messaging, honestly, is going to get lost in our messaging about returning to campus, which is what they're super focused on. So we're focusing our energies on that senior box and continuing to put things in the biweekly message. As I mentioned, our residence hall count is in. The census has asked campuses to provide information on off-campus residents now. The dilemma being that we have never required our off-campus students to provide us with a local address. So I'm working with our registrar's office to try to get a count to see if we think it is worth the energy, because it's a pretty significant data pull and data cleanup in order to send it to the census to see if that will change our numbers enough. So we're looking at that as an option. There's also some data we have to scrub from that because we're not allowed to share it all because of FERPA. So that's where we are at IC.
Okay. So Cornell, we are moving through the process of figuring out how to respond for our on-campus students. It requires, to give anything other than a name, requires is not covered in our directory information policy, so we can't release that. But Working with the University Registrar's Office, we are going, and Council's Office, our plan is to ask students, inform students that we will be sharing the data, modifying the directory information policy for Cornell for the purposes of census only, and giving them a time period during which they can opt out. As Doreen mentioned, the Census Bureau is also asking campuses to report on-campus students. The numbers in College Town remain really low. It's just hard to get on students' radar, and I don't think it's going to get that much easier. We're below 23% in the core of College Town and 29% in sort of surrounding area. So we are going to, like Ithaca College, we've never required local addresses, but they are requested. So the registrar's office is looking at the data to see what percentage of students have put their local addresses in. Even if it were half the students who live off campus, that would be a vast improvement on where we are now at 22%. So we are planning to query or inform all students that we're changing the directory information policy, and in the middle of August intend to report out on all on-campus students unless they have opted out of having their information shared, and as many of the off-campus students as possible. We have to give the census enough information, name, date of birth, and local address, so that they'll be able to figure out which are duplicates, because particularly the graduate population, but even 20 or 30% of the undergraduates have responded. So the census needs enough information to pull that. But I had advocated this approach a year ago, but at that point there were privacy concerns. I think those have now sort of fallen by the wayside, and we have a new registrar who's supporting this methodology. So that I think is really maybe not for student privacy, but in terms of a census count, it's really great news that we're going to go that route. So because of that, I'm pulling back on pushing communication, because I think I think this will be much more effective. And like I say, the registrar and the council's office are on board, so that's who it's going to take. So that's my update.
Questions? I want to thank you both for your continued efforts. I can report that a letter went out to the 3 college presidents, Shirley Collado and Martha Pollock and Olivia, Orinthia, I was going to say Olivia Montague at TC3. It's signed by chair of our legislature, our county administrator, and myself, urging that we not lose track of the census and that we keep a real effort toward that. We've had good cooperation, but we want to continue to keep this in the forefront of people's concerns about our community and getting the proper count for grants and for redistricting and other kinds of things. So as I said, that has gone out. Thanks to Jason Molino for drafting that. Anything else about our colleges?
I saw that message. It was forwarded to me for action, which is often what happens when messages go to the president. It gets forwarded right back to the person who's been designated to work on that. But I did see that message. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate it, but we thought we would try to raise the level here a little bit, and we know how hard you've been working on it.
Yeah, no, it also came back in my direction, but I think focusing higher level attention on it just builds knowledge and support for it being really important. So thanks to you and to Jason for getting that done.
Still don't have any census specialists this morning, do we? So I assume that they're going about doing what they're supposed to be doing, and maybe we'll hear from them between now and the next meeting. wanted to mention one thing, and that is one of the things that we have a use for the census data in is redistricting at the county level. We, at this point, will not have the census block data back in time to redistrict before county legislature seats are up for election in 2021, because the state changed the calendar, the election calendar, to require that petitioning start in March, February and March. We don't expect census data probably until maybe July of 2021. Our county charter requires an independent redistricting committee. So there have been proposals out there to change the terms of office for county legislators by saying 1 year and then 4 years, or 2 years and then 4 years elections, so that we would not go so long without redistricting. If we do nothing, redistricting will not happen until the election in 2025. So I want to point that out. At the last legislature meeting, the resolutions for both those options, 1 and 4 and 2 and 4, both failed to pass. So at this point, unless there's any change tomorrow night, this will not go forward to a referendum. It would be voted on by the voters in November, and there would be no redistricting possible until for the election in 2025. I just wanted to bring you up to date on that. Amanda?
Yeah, I just want to clarify that the redistricting will happen. It's just we won't be changing our election terms. So just to clarify there, it's not the end of the world.
All right. Is there anything else this morning? Are there other reports we should start looking at? Teresa, is there anything, are you still there with us? Or is there anything from the library you'd like us to know about?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah, so what we've been doing, we have opened up for curbside pickup and lobby pickup, and Jennifer gave us, Carius gave us some materials that we are adding to every bag that we distribute. So basically we do the books in bags, and then we put the census information in there. We also are putting them in our bundles. We're making bundles for people according to different themes for children, for adults, and we're putting the census information in there. We got 2 large posters that we hung up in our windows for people that are either taking the bus or whatever, and when they walk by, they see it. And I'm working with Jennifer and, let me see, someone else from the census on doing a enumerator training. We're going to open up the Borg Warner for them from July 31st to August 5th. That'll be from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. So we're working on that. And those are my biggest updates. Yeah, we're doing what we can within what we have going on with the reopening. And we also still have the census information on our website. So that's about
helpful.
it for now.
All right. Appreciate having the availability of the facility for training.
Yeah, we were going to have that at the end of July.
Lee and Ashley, anything from TCA?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good morning. We're continuing to promote the census with our social media efforts. We are putting flyers in our food pantry bags, our Head Start food distribution and delivery. We are continuing to work with the National Community Action Partnership, that is a nationwide community action agency. So we are in the process of promoting what's called the Tell 2 campaign, and it's more so reminding people that have already taken the census to tell their friends and family to go ahead and take that, and just continue to express the importance of the census.
That's good. We appreciate that. Lori?
Thank you. So one thing that I noticed when I was distributing some census materials to some local food pantries, it struck me that for some people who don't have easy access to the internet, it's an even tougher ask if, understandably that questionnaire that came to them sometime in the middle of the pandemic is now lost in their house. So with a little bit, it took a little while, but I eventually got from the Census Bureau, of the many, many different kinds of materials they have, a card that has the phone numbers on it, both for the questionnaire to be done, orally in English, but also in all the variety of different languages. I think there are 12. So I would just say that to me, that's a more helpful information piece than just a handout here, do it online for that particular part of our community that, low income or maybe just other parts of the community where broadband isn't as available or what have you. So I would just point out that those are available. Like I said, it took a while to get things ordered through the census, but through Mike and Jennifer, I was able eventually to get those. So that's sort of my newest information card that I'm trying to get out to people. The other bit of news, through the good graces of the county, I applied to get an intern through the Summer Youth Employment Program. And I just today, this morning, saw the email with the good news that program did indeed get its funding, that they were waiting for a while to get that good news. But so if all goes as planned, I would be working with a young person, I guess a high schooler, with the thought that we would be doing some phone calls to Catholic Charities clients and maybe to others, but at least to start with the people who have received our services, if we have a phone number for them, which we should have for many, although we know with cell phone service, people's phones run out of minutes and they change, and it's not so easy necessarily to track people. But anyways, to try to either call or text people with the reminder. From what I was reading some time back on US Census Bureau website, there was a real push to do text messaging, mass text. So I reached out to Dominic about that. I don't know if that's gotten anywhere, but I mean, they were certainly saying, and data show that people look at text messages more than emails, right? And more than answering their phone or whatever. So, so the thought is, maybe there would be some ways we could do that as a reminder that would then also have a link right to the website. So we'll see how that goes. The orientation for the Summer Youth Program is this week. So if I do get this young person who's able to do some phoning and some texting, that would be, for several weeks this summer. But I guess if there are other tasks, which is why I thought about yard signs, if there are other things that could be done that just need a little, people just putting in the hours to get some of those tasks done, I guess I would say, please do let me know, because we would at least have a person or two to help with those kind of things. So I guess my hope is that we figure out, as things open up, a way to do a little more face-to-face, because it's pretty clear that, people are only going to pay so much attention to a piece of paper. And, certainly we've gotten them out. Mike has done it. All sorts of folks have been doing it with the food pantry distribution. But, if we still aren't hitting numbers, then, it has to go back to people need to hear it out loud from people they trust. So, I mean, that's my hope. That is, if we can have a little bit more of an opportunity to do some face-to-face at places like Alex Haley Pool, or, maybe some of the food pantries where it's not as hard to have a face-to-face conversation, if people aren't quite so afraid to talk, if people are safe with masks and socially distant. That would be my hope, that I at least can do a little bit more of that direct encouragement, so people understand what the importance is. So we'll see how it goes, but hopefully we'll get a little more. We'll get a little more of the word out to people that need that encouragement.
Thank you, and thanks for the offer of the assistance from your intern. That's a pretty important thing. Appreciate it. Kay Wagner. Your hand's
Yeah,
up.
yeah, I had a question for Teresa. I mean, people were talking about the need to get word out in Dryden and Groton, and is anybody doing stuff at those libraries?
I could speak for Dryden, because I'm on the board out there. We are just beginning to discuss reopening of the library itself. We've been doing curbside delivery, as I think all the rural libraries have been doing, as well as TCPL. And we've been trying to get word out about the census. I don't know if we've been putting anything in the bags or not, but maybe Teresa knows more about that than I.
Yeah, I know that they had like social media promotion going for a while, but with the reopening, I haven't really met with any of there was a weekly meeting that was going on, but I haven't been able to do that due to the reopening. I've been at the library like working on the floor, so I am not sure. But I could contact, I know Jenny Shank, who is handling the census at Finger Lakes Library System. She's the one that communicates with all the different libraries in Tompkins County, so she may know more.
Thanks, Teresa. Maybe we could, if you find out something, you could send it out to the group.
Yes, I will.
Someone on the phone that wants to talk, it looks like. It is.
We have another telephone number here that's come on. Who is that? Let's see.
It's Mike.
Oh, it's
Mike
Mike.
Kaplinkalair.
Well, welcome, Mike. We were kind of giving you up for lost here this morning. Glad you're here.
I was on the road over in Seneca County. Sorry. Glad to be part of it.
Would you like to talk to us? We're getting close to the end of the meeting, but we're glad to hear from you.
Well, we are still in the same pattern I think you've been in for a couple months, but we do have people who are starting out in the field, as you know, and August 14th, we will have enumerators knocking on doors. So the census staff are doing a very big push to get as many possible surveys answered before August 14th, so we can limit the number of people that have to had their doors knocked on. We are having the last week of July, a particular push, having a faith community weekend, in addition to revisiting all the partners between now and then to remind them to activate their networks. I'm sure you've been talking about this throughout most of the meeting, so I won't summarize that, but it's proceeding apace, and I think in general, Tompkins County, besides the student issue, is doing as best as can be expected.
Mike, Patty mentioned that you had said something about Census looking at trying to somehow review the data from 10 years ago and to try to get a better count from the student population this time. Is there something that we should know about that?
No, that is a projection. There's a very strong attempt to have a congressional hearing about this very issue for all communities that have high population of students, because of course we're not alone. We anticipate there will be a congressional hearing, and the expectation is that in the congressional hearing, which will probably be in October, a request will come to essentially use analytics to look at the response rate this year, compare it to the response rate in 2010, and add in as much information as they have between 2010 and 2020 regarding new housing units through things like the American Community Survey. But again, that's all at this moment a projection, because of course the actual congressional hearing hasn't been scheduled. But we know that this is an issue all across the country, and there are ways that one can begin to deduce, but that would have to be with the approval of Congress. But we understand that the big push for all communities with college students is going to be extremely challenging, even as they come back in the fall, because of the seniors having graduated, freshmen not necessarily needing to respond, and then the other 2 years not quite being clear about April 1st and where they were laying their head for, the most of the months of the year before April 1st. So it's a challenge. We're continuing to educate, but that is the advice we are getting, that there will be essentially innovative and creative ways to try to analyze each community for the data they have.
Thank you. Nancy, you got a question? You got on mute.
Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, I wanted to just to say to Mike that I'm glad people are thinking as creatively as they can about how to use legitimate information to overcome this anomaly. And this may be something you might choose to not comment on, but I did read recently about some changes in the administrative levels of the census with more political appointments. And I didn't know if anything has begun to trickle down to you about how either information will be gathered, how it will be shared. It makes me nervous about, I'll just say that I'm nervous about the integrity and the accuracy of the data in this round, not just because of COVID, but because of political partisanship.
You are absolutely right. I can't comment on that. There are no changes to my knowledge at the New York Regional Office, which covers the Northeast. We have a very, very strong team from the director of the regional office, Jeff Baylor, on through. So no changes that I'm aware of in that office, but I understand your concern. The one thing that I would consider, and maybe I'm not 100% sure I'm allowed to do this with my census hat on, I might be able to do it as a citizen, is to have each legislature, each elected body just essentially write a letter from their body, whether it's to the state or on to the National Census Directorate, to ask for exactly what I've described, a congressional hearing to address the issues of the college town communities and the high impact that could possibly have. It could be a very simple 2-sentence letter saying we asked for this, even though we all on this conversation know that it's in the works. An extra letter from a community like Tompkins and the towns could just add a little bit more oomph to that push. But besides that, I don't have any other information to comment on. But thank you, Nancy, for your concern.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Mike, could you forward to Kathy Covert the proper person or persons at the federal and state level and addresses, so that if we chose to write a letter like that, we could know to whom to address it?
Yes, it would certainly be Steve Dillingham, and then also our regional director, Jeff Baylor. But I will forward that on to Kathy, absolutely.
Thank you. That would be a big help. Nancy, anything else?
No, that was it. Thanks.
Okay. Let's go to our committee members. Shauna, Amanda, Dave, Glenn, are there any reports that you have this morning? Anyone we've missed that would like to say something for the good of the cause? Our next meeting will be August 3rd. And I want to thank Kathy Covert and Katrina McCloy for their help, and certainly Greg Potter for helping put this together this morning for us. I guess if there's no other business, we can adjourn.
Michael, this is
yes, Mike.
Mike, just one more note. As we are making a big push in July into early August, there is a fair amount of material, whether it's printed, of course, social media content, but there's census swag and those kinds of things, flyers, posters, everything from water bottles to chapstick. If people know of various social distancing events, it could be a parade, it could be a food distribution event, please feel free to let me know, and we'll try to get as much reminder material out to the community in this next month. But we have plenty, and I'm glad to distribute it and make sure it's not sitting around as of early September. But thank you.
Appreciate that, Mike. So that's our homework. If we have some event like that, make sure Mike knows about it. All right, we ready to adjourn?
Ready.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day.
Thanks, Mike.
Stay well, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks,
you, Mike.
everyone.